Hello, everybody. I don't know who's there. If you guys are ready, we're just gonna wait a couple of minutes before starting. We're gonna be joined very soon by Mr. Damien DeVoe, and we're gonna talk about a lot of things that happened in the past in Chase Tag. So it's gonna be a lot of old footage. It's gonna be funny. But yeah, I'm just here waiting for a couple of minutes. How are you guys? I can hear some background noise here. But yeah, we're just gonna wait for a couple of minutes. I hope you guys are doing good. Next week we're gonna have an interesting guest as well. I think it's gonna be quite fun. But yeah. So as I said, we're gonna watch a couple of clips that are very old from when the chase start started, and so we're gonna be able to see, how it started, the first couple of events, the first couple of tests, how the format did evolve. We tried to bring footage that isn't available on YouTube, so there's a lot of new footage. I think it's gonna be super exciting, and yeah. Damien DeVoe, the co-founder of the sport, is going to be here with us. So I guess if Damien is ready, we can start. Hey,
I'm ready. Hey,
how are you?
Very good.
It's nice to see you.
Good to see you too.
So yeah, for those of you who are there and who might not know Damien, this is Damien DeVoe, member of the Sophistication Police and also one of the co-founders of Chase Tag. So yeah.
Is it kind of a moustache or what? Does it what?
No, it's when we first got you guys on the podcast last season, we were talking about pancakes and crepes and stuff, and at some point we talked about like the plastic cutlery, and you were like, oh, what is it? And I don't know, that punchline really made me laugh. So anyway, I don't know if you.
I demand you call me that from now on, Damien DeVoe, the Sophistication Police. So if that's
so yeah, I don't know if you heard me. Hello, Shy is among us. So yeah, with the rest of the team, we prepared a lot of clips that are from the early ages of Chase Tag, a lot of footage that isn't available on YouTube, and so we're just gonna play you a couple of clips, and we're gonna be able to talk with you through, what happened in the past of Chase Tag, etc. Hello, Lefty Doodoo. So yeah, the black tapes of where Chase Tag, like the production team is saying. So I think it's gonna be interesting. So let's start with the first clip. Do you have the first clip ready? We started like from the basics of the oldest clips we were able to found, and it's 9. Let's go. So yeah, back very very old age. It was quite funny to see this.
This was the first thing we did. Up till this point, I mean, I didn't know where you were going to start on the timeline and stuff like that. So up to this point, we had been just to backtrack a bit. So this is the point where we kind of we had tested out in the garden a lot, and we knew that it was going to be an interesting idea. So we thought, okay, do we want to pursue it or not? is this something we want to do? So we thought, build some obstacles. We'd already experimented a bit with obstacles. We thought, let's get some good athletes, get them playing on the obstacles and see what it looks like. If it looks interesting, it looks exciting, we'll continue. If it doesn't, we'll just stop now. And we spoke to Kai Willis, who obviously from Storm, and at the time he was like a really prominent athlete. We spoke to him and said, "Can you get us some athletes?" So he got us 4 athletes from Storm and 4 athletes from Stora. At the time, we didn't really know who Stora was. You know what I mean? And that's what this was. We built a couple sets of obstacles. If you from the main camera angle, there are 2 sets of obstacles. There's one on the right-hand side, one on the left-hand side. I think I designed the one on the left-hand side and Christian designed the one on the right-hand side or something like that. It was sort of 2 separate parts to it. And we were still doing a multiplayer format at that point. So we had, I can't remember if it was 6 or 8 athletes in each game, but we'd play for like maybe, I can't remember how long each sort of game was at that point, but we'd play for a certain amount of time and the tag would just pass from player to player. And the reason why they were wearing those obstacles, I mean, the reason why they're wearing those different colored shirts is because we had, in the background, we had 6 people or 8 people, I can't remember how much is in each thing. And each person would have a timer and they would time how long the tag was on that particular color. So as the tag plays, if you listen to the background, you can hear like blue, then someone would press, the blue person would press their timer. And then it would go white, and then the white person would press their timer. So it's a very bizarre setup.
So it means that you had as many referees as you have players. My sentence wasn't proper English, but like for each player you had a referee pretty much.
Not really a referee. We had a timer. We had a timer for each person. So it was very complicated. One of the first things we did when we started, this is more when Christian sort of thought about the idea. We thought about getting a sort of a touch-sensitive fabric that you could wear as sort of jerseys and tracksuits and stuff like that. That would be a technology that electronically does it automated, but it was going to be a lot of money to develop. So that's why we had the different colors, and we just, it was going to be an automated version of all the people with the timers. But actually thinking about the DTR business and stuff like that, I mean, at the moment we have like 4 referees and a DTR and replays, and it's already confusing.
So I was going to mention that clip. What's interesting here is you can see on the graphics you have like different timers per each person, and so you were counting the time someone was actually chasing rather than evading.
You'd count the time that people were on tag. So so the person who was on the tag least after the minute, or I can't remember how long each match was, they would win. You know what I mean?
So wait. Once again, for the production team, that's something new that we just created. You're going to be able to vote. So we're going to have questions, and you're going to be able to vote to tell us if you agree or not with the statement. If you send hearts or thumbs up, you're going to be able to say yes. And if you send like crying emoji or a thumbs down, then you're going to say no. And so you're going to be able to tell us, if you agree with the different questions right now.
I would like to add to that, Thomas. I would like to add to that. Yeah. I want everyone to vote no, because that format is a freaking nightmare for referees and for DTRs. So even if it's a resounding yes, it's absolutely no way we're going to do a format like that, because the DTR situation would be an absolute catastrophe, basically. So
I think for players it was probably like quite funny, but as a viewer I feel like it's quite confusing to, I don't know, watch this. You don't really know where to look, and you don't really know,
That was the thing we realized with this format, is that there isn't a focus of attention. There's 6 people running around, and we don't know who's on tag. Everyone's shouting around green, orange, and we're trying to work it out. DTRs, if there was a disputed tag, the whole game would have to be restarted and all that kind of stuff. So there was a lot of flaws to it. Another thing we realized, we did it in rounds, this event. We had like a mini event, and we did it in rounds. And what we realized was that Pip, the guy in orange here, he was really good. He was the best athlete. He was hardly getting tagged and all that kind of stuff. Then on the final round, everyone said, right, let's gang up on Pip. So he ended up not winning. and we realized it's actually fundamentally flawed, because you can gang up on someone and just make sure they're always on tag, and it's not going to work. You know what I mean?
Mr. Aaron Lucas, I would assume, is saying that that would probably be dangerous with the speed that the players are, playing right now. It would, probably be difficult. But what I find is interesting is if you look at the structure. First of all, it didn't have perimeters, so they weren't there from the start, which is an interesting thing. And also the mountain kind of looks like the mountain. You can see that there are some part of that very old quads that are still present in the current quad, and so it's cool to see the evolution of all of this.
Yeah, we definitely, a lot of it's like the mountain table is there. That's almost identical. So yeah, a lot of the things are quite similar. Basically, what we did is just when we realized, so from this, after this shoot, we realized, okay, this is a bit flawed because people can pick on a certain athlete. There's not a focus of attention, and it's very difficult to adjudicate. You need a lot of referees, and if there is a dispute, then you have to sort of go back to the beginning, and then it gets very complicated. So as soon as we finish this, we realize, okay, there's two things we want to do. We want to have a much more clear focus of attention, and we've got to make sure that it's fair. People can't gang up on one person and stuff like that. So we experimented with more rules, and we've tried all kind of different formats. We realized as well, because at the time, apart from, obviously we had connection to Stora and Storm and stuff like that, we'd spoken to them about this and had some feedback from them and stuff like that. But we soon realized that parkour athletes in general train together. They all train together in teams, not necessarily in teams, but it's not a solitary sport. Do you know what I mean? So we thought there's no point having a solitary kind of event, a solitary sport based off people that aren't solitary people. Do you know what I mean? In other words, we realized that teams were the way forward. It had to be in team. And so we wanted to have the focus of attention, and then have a team format kind of thing. So we tried.
I was going to say, right before moving to the next format, we have one more video where we can see some rules and some 3D things, and there's the Christian voice.
Oh, no. Thousands of years, but never quite like this. From Trinity Boy Wharf
I
in
love
London,
that.
England, you're watching World Chase Time.
Anyway, that's, I don't know, quite nice to see all of this. Oh my gosh, with the dubstep as well.
Good afternoon and welcome to the final round of the inaugural World Chase Time Championships.
Okay, maybe we can lower the volume of that.
Okay, this, just to let you know, that was a guide vocal. So we weren't expecting it to be. I haven't watched that video for a long time. That was like a guide thing of how we wanted the program to start. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So
okay.
Yeah.
With all the rules and stuff. I don't know.
Yeah.
I love to see that. I feel like that's the history of the chase time. And as someone was saying in the chat, that would be lovely to have some kind of documentary at some point and see, how chase tag grew and was created, because that's quite fascinating.
I made this video myself, and this was never meant to be seen, by the way. So
Okay.
I went through all my UFC forms.
There you go.
Can you rewind that bit again? I don't know if you can rewind that bit. Can you rewind that bit with the headshots?
Oh, they probably can. Can you rewind?
Because
oh my
that's
gosh!
that's like these are all the Stora guys: Max K, Drew Taylor, and it's all a bunch of Phil Doyle. It's all a bunch of UFC fighters.
Yeah.
Josh Pommel, freaking Jose Aldo. So this was a very rough video that I was never expecting anyone to see. So that's
Hey, there you go. That's why we're here, to expose chase tag. So yeah, that was nice to see. But there are a couple of things that you could tell that the basis of chase tag was already there, because there are a lot of things that we're still doing right now that are kind of a better version of this. Like even the 3D shots of the quad, like all the animations, the way the rules are presented, etc. There are a lot of, like, we can see the basis of everything that happened afterwards. So uh, blah blah blah. What streaming platform?
I mean, we always had quite a clear idea of what we wanted, how we wanted it to look. Do you know what I mean? And I think it's getting closer. Still not 100% there, but really, we obviously the sport is very different. But we look at the UFC, everything they do, I think, just hits the nail on the head as far as the level of excitement, the level of how they educate their audience, all that kind of stuff. Just the production in general. So that's always been our sort of benchmark of how we want to produce everything. Do you know what I mean? And we haven't got it right yet, but that's always been the sort of foundation of what we're aiming for. You know what I mean? How the UFC do that.
On the next clip, I don't know if you have it ready. I felt like it was interesting. Oh, the team is telling me we don't know if it's supposed to be private or not, the next video,
Okay.
because we have a lot of footage.
Okay.
But
By God, again, take it down.
so we might show you only one frame, and you tell us, if we can show that or
That's
not.
good. No, that's good. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Okay.
This
okay,
was.
okay.
Yeah.
Because like seeing this, I was just like, oh, you can see that you guys were trying to show a little bit of storytelling as well, and other things that I think Chase Tag should do a little bit more. So that was quite nice with the music and the slow
One thing we wanted to
motions
do
and the title.
with this, what I've always felt this way from the start is that since we first came up with the idea, I've always felt this way. Is that like when we first started and Christian said, I want to do chase tag, I was like, just to backtrack right from the start. When Christian, we talked about it a bit and stuff like that. Then Christian said one night, I spoke to him, I was away, and Christian said, oh, I want to do chase tag. And I remember going to bed that night thinking, he's insane. That is I think Christian's actually gone crazy. That's such a ridiculous thing to do. You know what I mean? To try and do chase tag as a job and make it into a sport and stuff like that. And then the next day I slept on it. I just thought, actually, I really believe in the idea, so I want to be involved as well. And one thing, when we first decided, right, we want to do this, the first thing I did was just to spend about like a couple of days just Googling, okay, what have people done with tag so far? And I was fully expecting to see a whole subculture of people playing tag. I was just in my mind, I was like, okay, cool, I'm going to Google it. And then suddenly there's going to be pages and leagues and athletes and all this kind of stuff. And I was just expecting it. You can Google so many weird stuff and you'll find a whole subculture around that thing. So I was expecting 100%, I'm going to find a whole subculture around tag. When I Googled it, I was like, what? That's weird. And I carried on Googling it. And I did it for a couple of days, like straight. I didn't find anything. And I was just confused. And then every month or so, I would just be like, nah, there must be something. And I kept Googling it. And I still didn't find anything. You'd find a lot of things in India. They have a couple like games in India. I think one of them is called Coco. And then obviously they have Kabaddi. But there was nothing like how we wanted to do it, nothing even close. And so it was just, after a while, it dawned on me, this is such an obvious idea. Everyone has played tag. Now parkour is becoming more popular. It's such a ridiculously obvious idea. So that last video, I know I was talking throughout the whole thing, so I kind of ruined the impact of it. But
no, that's
that
right.
was kind of the purpose of that video, was to try and convey that in every culture, there's a word for tag. In every single culture, there's a word for tag. We have loads of, like, I'm not wearing it now, but on one of the hoodies we sell, we have all the names of all the tag written down the sleeve. And every culture has a name for tag. There's references to tag going back to ancient Greece and all this kind of stuff. So it's just every able-bodied person plays tag. Yet we haven't made a sport out of it. It just seems so ridiculously obvious that you have this thing that everyone does and no one's tried to sort of officialize it or standardize it. And so the purpose of that video was to kind of hopefully get people thinking, it's one of the oldest games and most played games in the world. and that was the kind of purpose of that video, just to kind of. I don't think it really convinced anyone at the time, to tell you the truth.
But that's a start, and I think yes, it's a game that everybody played and that is like very common everywhere in the world. But what makes Chase Tag that interesting, in my opinion, is it's not really the tag, but it's the quad, like the fact that you have a space that is so well thought that then tag becomes interesting. And if you remove the quad from Chase Tag, I feel like the game kind of loses all of its interest, in my opinion.
Yeah.
If we can move on to the next clip, we have some very old footage of a very famous player now. That was just a baby at the time. So that's super cute to see that. Oh my gosh, look at him.
Jimmy the Giant. And the person filming this is Kieran, Jimmy the Giant.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah.
We can see a lot of faces that are still in the Chase Tag. Connor. At some point, I think there is Greg. I don't know if it's in that video or the other one.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's nice to see all these faces a long time ago.
So this was this had moved on a bit since the last video. It was actually in the same building we did this, next door to what used to be Hardcore Generations, their gym's chain store. And so at this point, we realized that it has to be one-on-one. We realized that the chases has to be short to keep explosives, and to keep it explosive. So that's why, that's why it's one-on-one and 20-second chases. Can I request you play a video? Is that possible?
Yeah, if we have it, yeah, for sure. And then there's
it's on YouTube.
Okay, it's on YouTube.
There's
So
one
probably.
video. Okay, if you can play this, you don't need to play it now. But to me, that is the most sort of significant video in the evolution of Chase Tag. If you look it up, it's called Tate Modern. It's called something like Chase.
We have it. We actually have it. We wanted to play just a little bit later. I mean, we can play it now.
Okay, no problem.
Let's play it now.
The timeline is that that one came first. So after we did the Storm and Star stuff in the first video, we realized there's some fundamental flaws in this. Let's experiment with a different format. One-on-one format for start. Not this one. It was one at the Tate.
No, the one, the one outside with in front of the Tate Museum. Like you can see trees and stuff. And Aaron Lucas was asking a long question that I'm gonna try to summarize. He was saying that a few parkour athletes are saying that Chase Tag is not parkour, which I completely agree. Or it's too dangerous, and they would never push their athletes to play Chase Tag, I guess. What are your thoughts on this topic? And if you ever heard any similar thoughts?
Yeah, we've heard some
but we can come back later. But
yeah. Well, yeah, we've heard some similar thoughts on that. I mean, and that's fair enough. I think any sport where you're going to push yourself, especially where you have Chase Tag, is a very chaotic sport. It's chaotic. It's chaos. You can't plan anything, and it's very chaotic. And unfortunately, you're just going to get injuries. Rugby. I don't even think, if you look at the stats, I don't even think Chase Tag is as dangerous as something like rugby or American football or MMA. I remember I used to do a lot of MMA, and I had all kind of injuries, and I hurt my hand one time, and at doing jiu-jitsu, and it was just when I started, and I was kind of, I hurt my hand, and he goes, we're training to hurt people. Someone's going to get hurt. And that always stuck with me, because I just thought, actually, yeah. So, and sport in general, when people are pushing themselves to the extreme, especially when it's a chaotic thing, I mean, runners get hurt. Just running, they get injuries. Tennis, it's going to happen. There's nothing we can do about it. And
Hello, Mr. Quad Talk. I think the main thing, in my opinion, is that the TV show tried to push that image of this is dangerous, and all the athletes are very reckless, and you're gonna get hurt, and this is the most dangerous sport, etc. And so in everybody's mind, it's like you have some kind of fear when you're doing Chase Tag, because you're like, oh, it's so dangerous. But as you said, if we look at stats, I don't know
Yeah.
if it's the most dangerous sport that
No,
it
not at all.
exists at all.
Not at all.
And in my past, I worked with many people, but at some point we did like a video for MMA competition, and what really struck me is after each fight, people were being checked by a doctor because all of them were injured or bleeding or blah 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 whatever, and I was like, chase tag is actually quite chill if you compare it to
Yeah.
this. I was like,
Yeah.
um, but yeah,
If you
I
if
can.
you if you take a martial arts event, let's say there's 20
Mm,
people fighting, 10 fights. There's probably going to be a couple of concussions. There's going to be cuts all over the place, blood, bruises, maybe some broken bones, and that's out of 20 people. We have 130 people, and yeah, there's usually one or two injuries. Nothing, touch wood, nothing too bad. But so I think chase tag is actually quite safe because we have
yeah.
good athletes. Because we have good athletes who are trained on the quad. Do you know what I mean? So, but yeah,
Um,
coming back to that previous video, I know I was talking over. This is
to
really
yeah,
good.
let's go back to the Tate Museum, um, if it's
But
possible.
the reason why I think that video, the Tate video, is significant, is because this is the first time we ever did one-on-one chases that lasted 20 seconds. We
Okay.
realized it had to be one-on-one, and then we realized, okay, how long do we want the chases to be? Do we want them to be
Mm,
like 30 seconds, 25 seconds, 50 seconds, a minute, or whatever? And we realized, no, 20 seconds is perfect because you can just about sprint for 20 seconds. But 30 seconds, then you've got to be a bit more careful about cardio. So to me, this in the whole like evolution of chase tag, in a way, this video is the one that I think is the most significant because
okay.
it's the first time we did one-on-one 20-second chases. You know,
Okay. That's nice.
so
Mr. Amos just said that he rolled his ankle on the sidewalk watching this, so be careful. Maybe go sit in a coffee.
yeah,
And too late. Damn it. But okay, so that was the first time you guys were doing one-on-one chases.
yeah.
Um,
Another thing to add as well. Sorry to interrupt. Another thing to add
no,
as well.
no.
At this point, we were still thinking. I can't remember exactly. Another important evolution in chase tag was when we first started. We were thinking it was going to be more of like a running based with very rudimentary obstacles, and we were thinking, oh yeah, have a little, like how it is here. There's no vaulting. There's very little vaulting. We were
Mm,
thinking it was going to be much more like running backs and rugby fly halves and sprinters and stuff like that. And then
mm,
as we started to get more into the obstacles, we realized actually the obstacles make it much more interesting.
yeah.
And that's why we started to think more about parkour. And then as the parkour athletes got better, we realized, okay, we can get more extravagant with the obstacles. And then it just kind of very quickly escalated and then we realized, yeah, parkour people, those are the best people to have. That's the best
But,
kind
but
of.
it's funny because when you watched a couple of first events, the way people were playing was so different, and I feel like a shift happened when people stopped thinking about parkour only and started developing all of the dives and stuff. And I was like, okay, so now they're moving differently. And if you look at the chase tag athletes, I feel like nowadays they have a set of movement that is, not the opposite of parkour, obviously, but it's something different and unique. And most parkour athletes that will only do parkour, they don't need these movements because you're never gonna do parkour and try to jump head first in a very tiny window of a few centimeters.
Yeah.
So yeah,
That's an important point, though. That's an important
like
point, is that like, even at the first event, sometimes it was interesting looking at the chases because sometimes you'd see some people like Greg did really well at that event. You could see he was playing chase tag. He was thinking
mhm,
about the other person. Danny Elibaka as well was incredible at just making people do what they didn't want to do. Do you know what I mean? And making them make stupid decisions. Whereas other people, it looked like they were just doing parkour and they weren't. They were just totally ignoring the other person. No disrespect to them, but their mindset was, I'm a parkour athlete, I'm going to do parkour and hopefully not get caught. Do you know what I mean? So it's a really
mm.
good point that like, yeah, you could see it in the early times when some people were playing chase tag and they were involved in the sport, but some people were just doing parkour. Do you know what I mean? So it is a
Yeah,
good,
so that was at the chain store, right? I
yeah,
was happy to see Marchis a little bit. For those of you that don't know, Marchis is someone that worked for Chase Tag for a very long time doing like editing, video and stuff, and it was, I don't know, quite nice to see him having fun with you guys. So I felt like it was
He
a
was
nice
right
video
from the
to
start.
have.
He was right from the start. Marcus was involved with us. Literally from
Yeah,
day
so
one. In fact, our first involvement with parkour, Christian commented on a video of some people playing tag in a playground or something like that. And Christian made a comment or something like that. He made some comment just to test the water and say something like that. I would love to see this Olympic sport. And then Marcus commented, yeah, that would be wicked, or something like that. I can't remember exactly what it was. And then Christian and Marcus got in touch. And then we met up in London one day. He took us to Vauxhall Walls. And that was our first connection to parkour. And then Lando got into it through that. And then it kind of developed from there, you know.
that's nice. So that was still before the first store chase off, right?
Yes. I can't remember. Okay. Yeah, this probably would have been before the first Star Chase off. Yeah, probably.
Okay. So yeah, if you guys have the videos of the first store chase off, I think that's the first competition where it kind of became serious. And I was wondering, like, what was your mindset when you did that event? Were you stressed? Were you excited? Because that's, I don't know, another level, I think.
Yeah, that was, events are always stressful. I remember the night before. I mean, you've been involved in events, you know how stressful they are and stuff. And I remember regarding the actual event, we'd done the test shoot, we'd tested a lot of stuff, but we were confident that the action was going to look good. I think we were pretty confident. But as far as the overall event, we thought let's try, and we rented all the equipment. And we thought, okay, at Christian's house, let's just try out a live stream and see how it works. And we can do pre-production stuff and test that live stream. We tried to test that live stream and nothing worked at all. We ended up arguing, and it was just, we didn't do any sort of what we should have been doing, pre-production stuff. So we were winging it, 100% winging it during that event. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And then the interesting thing about what happened at the Storage Chase-Off, up till that point, we hadn't had that much data on the main quad, on the full size 12-meter quad. It was still an early version of that quad, but we'd had basically maybe 1 or 2 days of testing out the quad and some stuff in the garden. And we found that the athletes we were using, there'd be like a really good athlete, and then there'd be someone like me, and some people would know what they were doing because they were good. Some people wouldn't get it and stuff like that. So there's a big difference in the quality of athletes. And so evasions would happen quite a lot. We talk about this thing internally. I don't know if we've discussed it much outside, but the evasion ratio. If you have 100 chases, how many of them end in an evasion? And ideally, we aim around 25 to 35% evasion ratio, around that. If we do 100 chases, we want about 25 to 35 to end in an evasion. And with that quad, how it was at the Storage Chase-Off, when we did test shoots, because they were so different, different levels of athletes, it was quite easy to get an evasion. If I went against Greg Ball, he was getting an evasion. Do you know what I mean? Which
is crazy, because when you look at that quad, I mean, you can see some elements that are still there, like the mountain, tilted cube and stuff. Yeah. But it's just so open. I think that if like the current players were playing on that quad, it would be impossible to score an evasion.
Zero
evasion. That's I don't know. That's crazy. Because people didn't know how to react to the obstacles. I feel like they were doing a lot of weird stuff and waiting, and I don't know.
Yeah. So. And people didn't know what was possible then as far as getting through those obstacles. But coming back to the evasion ratio, what we found at the Storage Chase-Off was that when the athletes were level, because we got only good athletes, the quality of athlete was a lot more level, and then the EQ just dropped completely. So exactly what you're saying. There were very, very few evasions. And each chase lasted, there's two things that kind of go hand in hand. The evasion ratio and also the average chase length. And every chase was like 5 seconds. That's why we never released the videos. We never released those videos of that, the full matches of that event, because each chase was like 5 seconds. They'd walk up to tilted cube, get the tag.
The production team is saying the first sponsor was called EQ. You can't make that shit
that's
up.
Funny.
That's funny.
I never thought about that. That's bizarre. That's a really weird coincidence. I never even realized that. God, that's bizarre. Yeah, it was a good point.
Um, but yeah, that's also, well, even though the event wasn't perfect, I think that's the event that became viral online, right?
Yeah,
Where
yeah,
people started like sharing all of these
mm,
videos. I remember all of my Facebook back at the time was full of people writing me, telling me like, "Oh, what is that sport? Why aren't you
mm,
playing that sport? You should
yeah.
play it." Blah blah blah.
It's funny.
Um, so I think this was still a key moment. And when
Yeah.
all of that happened, did you felt like something was changing, or back in the days you just, I don't know, it was just a usual day?
Yeah, I mean, well, after we did the event, I remember going back home. If you look at Christian in the background, whenever you see clips of me, either me or Christian, we were both just thinking, this is absolutely terrible because there were no evasions and each chase was like 5 seconds long. That's why we put out the highlight clips look pretty good. But when you put out a match, it wasn't very good. And no fault to the athletes at all. It was just that no one was getting evasions and the chases were really, really short. There were a couple of good chases and we released them on social media. We released highlights and we released a few good chases. And the first full chase we released was Sasha Powell against Danny Ilibaka, and that was on. I released that on January the 1st, 2017. The event was on the December the 18th, 2016. I released that video on January the 1st, 2018, and I actually I went to Japan for like a holiday just after that
Oh,
event. I thought, let me.
we have footage of that. For the people in the chat, well, first of all, hi Walt, nice to have you there. And for the people in the chat, every time we have a vote, you can vote either by sending a thumbs up or a heart if you agree with the statement, or someone that cries like a sad face, or a thumbs down if you disagree. But yeah, so that's the Japan video you were
Okay, yeah.
mentioning.
Yeah, I made it on that same trip. I went to go and edit the footage. Oh, I can't remember the timeline exactly, but yeah, we went out to Japan, met up with a few athletes. I was can actually some of the athletes we actually chased with still compete now in chase tag. Funny enough, and that was a long time ago. So they really saw early days. But yeah, I went to Japan and we released that video, and and um, it went viral after like after 2 or 3 days, it had 500,000 views. And we were just like, what the hell is going on? Like that was by far the biggest views we'd ever had, you know? So we were just like, what the hell? And I remember Marcus sending me a message and he goes, oh, I reckon it could get 1 million views. And in my mind, I was thinking, there's no way we would get 1 million views. Do you know what I mean? Because we didn't think it was going to have any impact at all. And then the next day it got 1 million views. So, and we were just like, at the time, what the hell? That's so bizarre. So you were asking, did we feel things changed? And yeah, it felt things were really, really different at that point. In fact, coming back to the timeline, this video, the format was different. And this must have
Yeah.
been before the Star Chase Off. I think this must have been before the Star Chase Off because we were still doing, effectively, sudden death. We do one-on-one chases. This is before we thought about teams and all that kind of stuff. And the format was very different. And it would basically be like one big sudden death. So you do like different rounds of sudden death. So first of all, Riku would evade, then Kan would evade, and then whoever got the longest evasion time would win. And then you do it again, and it was done in rounds. So this was before the story chase off. Yeah.
Okay.
And
So
the flaw
after,
we realized with this was that people get very tired very quickly. So you need to have rest between. You need to have a long rest. If you do a format like this and it's one-on-one, you need a rest period. You can't just do like this was 10 rounds.
yeah, that's a lot.
10 rounds back to back like that. So we realized that was flawed too. So that's why we thought about the team thing. And I remember one day in particular, I used to do boxing, and they used to do at the end of each session, they used to do a thing, King of the Hill, where you all stand in like as winner stays on, you all stand in a line, and then the first person to get a meaningful punch stays in, and then someone else comes in, and you just do it like that. So when we did some of the meetups, that's how we used to play the meetups. We used to just do it like winner stays on, evading. Whoever wins stays on as the evader. And
So
then I realized
that's
I realized one
was
day, oh shit, it's a team sport. if you could still have the same format, winner stays on, but you could just have two teams and they each send in a new chaser, every time they won. So
A few things. First of all, I would love to see Amos training Walt so that he could beat Dan. And we need to make sure Greg can probably train Dan to make the match more fair. And that's also like we kind of use that format, like the King of the Hill, for the app we're building at the moment, the 1v1 rent system, because we also feel like it's one of the best system when you have a lot of people. You can play and then rest and then go back, and we can have longer waves. Anyway, maybe we can move on to the next clip, which is we have some images of WCT2. How much time passed between like the first Stora Chase-Off and WCT2, and what did you change?
It wasn't that long. I think, as far as I remember, Stora Chase-Off was on the 18th of December. And I think this WCT2 was the next year, so it was 2017, and I think it was the 4th of July because it was Lando's birthday, and I think this was 4th of July, so it was only 6 months or whatever it is, and this we had the biggest change we had. The format was the same pretty much, but the big change we did on this one was the perimeter. We added a perimeter. At the Stora Chase-Off, we only had a single scaffold tube. Christian had always said to make a perimeter, and I was just like, I used to be the one that used to most of all cut make the quad and cut the tubes and stuff. And Christian said, "Why don't you make a perimeter?" And I was just like, "Man, that is going to be so much extra scaffolding, so much extra work." I was always like, "No, I don't want to make a freaking perimeter." And then he said, "Let's just try it." So we tried it out, and so that was the big change in this one, and I think it did make a big difference because even from an EQ view, what we realized about the Stora Chase-Off, some people did step out, which didn't look very good. It just was a kind of shitty climax to the chase if someone just steps out, and what it meant was that the Vader would be sprinting to go around the corner, and they had to make sure they didn't step out, so they'd have to turn around quickly. Whereas the Vader would have to do that, but the chaser could just run through, get the tag, and run out. So it really favored the chaser in that point. So we realized that actually, if we have the border, then the Vader, it just allows the Vader to sprint up to the border more and change direction easier, which effectively increases the EQ. The big thing about going from the Stora Chase-Off to the to WCT2 was that we knew we had to increase the EQ. So I can't remember the exact things we did with this one. There's a few changes, nothing big. There's two lines in the tilted cube. We added them, the two horizontal bars. I think we made the far side of the loading bay taller.
But it's I just love to see when you look at the ridge here and the lazy boy, and it's just like pretty much one board. There's nothing, and it's it's so funny to see all of this.
To be honest, at that stage, a lot of the obstacles were just made because we've got a spare piece of wood. What can we do with this piece of wood? Let's just put it here. So that whole ridge area was just like, let's stick this here and put this here. Another thing was that written into the design at that point, because we didn't get a chance to set up the quad that much, and we designed it and made it in the back garden. And Christian's garden is quite small. I mean, you can see it in the backyard flight club and fight club and stuff like that. It's a pretty small garden, so we couldn't set up the whole quad. So what we used to do is do it by quarter, and we never knew how it was going to fit all together. So there were certain design things we used to add to it, which meant that you could slide this up. If it didn't fit together, you could slide this. There had to be a pressure point where you could just say, okay, if this all mashes together, it doesn't mash how we think, then this can slide up. And that's what the whole ridge area was for. If it didn't fit properly, you could squeeze bits up and slide bits around and stuff like that. So that's kind of why some of the design is there, And with this one, as far as I remember, the EQ was good. The EQ was okay. I can't remember the exact evasion ratio, but it was much better than Stora Chase-Off. It was a totally different situation. This EQ felt like, okay, this is what we want to see, But as the athletes got better, we still realized we have to increase the EQ though, because athletes are going to get better. and the stuff we didn't
Yeah,
think they would be
because at the
possible.
time, at
They
at
were
the
doing.
time they were pretty much discovering the quad the day of
Yeah,
the event. Like they didn't have
yeah,
time
yeah,
to practice and find
yeah.
like solutions for every single part of the quad. But yeah,
One
it
thing
was
to
nice
add
to
about
see
this
all of
event,
these pictures. Blacklist
yeah,
was there. You have
yeah,
the first Eugen members, the Marrero
yeah,
gang, etc. First event with Sebastian Foucan as well, right?
yeah, yeah. That's right.
Uh, he was part
Mm.
of a team called what? I think it was Monster Hunter or Super Monster
Yeah,
or something like that. Oh
super
my
hunters,
gosh. Super
super hunters.
Hunters. Look at
But
that.
one thing to add with this event as well, as far as stress goes, this was one of the most stressful events
Stressful
because
event.
we,
Okay.
yeah, because we got up in the morning, early in the morning, we packed
Mm,
up the quad in the morning in the van,
okay.
took it up there, unloaded it, set the whole thing up, did the event, packed it all away, took it back home, and unloaded it all in one day. It was a disaster. Like it was just a total. It was
Yeah.
so emotionally draining.
And
So
it
we
was also the
realized,
first event in York Hall, right?
yeah, New York, yeah, yeah, yeah. And that was, we
So
stayed there a lot. It was a good venue. That, you know, but there
Kieran
was some
Hawkins was
issues.
there,
Hmm?
yeah. So some people
Kieran.
are talking about Kieran Hawkins, so yeah.
Okay,
He's
yeah,
still
yeah,
there
Kieran, yeah,
helping us on the
yeah, yeah.
videos. He was
Mm,
there during the Belgium event. He filmed
mm,
quite some content
mm,
for us. So yeah,
mm,
some people that are still part of the ecosystem of Chase Tag were already there,
mm,
and it's nice
mm,
to see all of them. So
mm. And Jacob too from Eco Threads. He was the one that got Soup Hunts together. Um, yeah, there was a lot of, yeah.
so yeah, it was the basis of Chase Tag. Can we move on to the next video, which was the World Chase Tag 3? So this
Mm,
time with the flooring and
yeah,
obstacle that looks a lot more similar to what we're used to now.
yeah, yeah. We
Um,
got the ridge by that point.
yeah, the Lazy Boy started to look like the Lazy Boy. I mean, the
Yeah.
sister still had a ramp, which was kind of
Did it?
funny.
Yeah, it's still there, isn't it? Yeah, yeah. That was a waste of time. Stupid. Well, like that was didn't do
And it
anything
was
for
also
it.
the first one with the lights, right? Light for the evasions, etc.
Yeah, the lights improved a lot on that one. Yeah, yeah. And that was another Kieran who's still dealing with us now. Kieran Slight. That was his idea to come up with the red and green stings
Mm,
with that one. But also, yeah, it was also, I don't know if it was Kieran, but to come up with the white flooring, that was a big, big thing because it just made
mm.
everything much brighter.
Look,
With that dark
yeah.
floor, your wall, it just everything just like so the
Oh
white
my
flooring
gosh.
from a production point of view, the white flooring was huge. You know?
I love to see Carriel. He was still playing with the, Blacklist guys
Mm,
back in the days. It
mm,
was before he changed teams.
mm.
And yeah, oh, people are asking York Hall or Les Arènes in every. In my
Oh,
opinion, I
jeez.
think Les Arènes are probably better, but York Hall is like, I don't know, the birthplace, let's say, of Chase Edge, so it's special.
Yeah,
But
I would love to go back to York Hall again. I mean, it's an old boxing venue and it has a lot of history. That venue. It used to be run by, I don't know how well they're known outside the UK, but it used to be run by two famous gangsters, the Krays.
okay.
I think it's run, or they fought there, or something like that. They had some connection with York Hall, and they made movies about them and stuff like that. They're really well known, two London gangsters. And there's a lot of history there with some big, big UK fights happen there. So there's something about that room that, and as well, there's the noise at York Hall is really good. It's a very enclosed space, so when the
Mm,
crowd starts shouting and stuff, I find it has a real kind of
yeah,
gladiatorial
it's
feel about
noisy.
it. Everyone's up
Uh,
close.
AJKS, it's saying that, yeah, Carriel was with Ape Escape, but most of the Ape Escape team was pretty much the Blacklist team. I think you have Valentin, you had brother Adams. Like,
Mm.
I called him Blacklist. It's not
Yeah,
Blacklist, but
yeah.
it's almost, the same. But yeah, your troll is quite interesting. I do prefer Les Arènes for the
Yeah,
show. I feel like with the
you can't compare
all
the
of the
two. You can't
seats
compare the
and
two.
the giant screens, and it's I don't know. But yeah, your troll is. I think the first time I went to the UK to see a Chase Tag event, it was there. It was for I don't know WCT 5, probably the UK Championship. So it's
Mm,
it's special in my head still.
mm, mm,
But But anyway, and so last week
Can't really compare the two
we
venues. Les Arènes was the closest we've come to really the sport being what we imagined it to be. That's pretty much like if we could do an event like that every month, that's how I imagine the sport will be when it's sorted, when it's a big sport, So to me, Les Arènes is how we always imagined it to be. That's the closest we've come so far. York Hall, I think there's a lot of atmosphere and there's a lot of history in the room and stuff like that. But Les Arènes was a very, very special event because it felt like this is what we've always dreamed it would be,
So we're gonna move away from the UK just for a little bit because last week with the people in the chat we talked about the first event where all of the United guys met. And for those of you that didn't see the event, we just took a couple of images back then. I think it's the first event we produced with the team here in France. We had like commentators, a couple of graphics. Everything was so, I don't know, amateurish, I would say. But it's nice to see all of this because it was the first time I think that we had an event in France with people coming from everywhere, and also the first time that an event wasn't organized by you, I think. So at least for French people, this one was a bit special. But yeah, I don't think it's worth like watching the whole match, but seeing all of this was.
But it's worth something to say about this is that for me and Christian, it's also quite a special event because this was the first time. I remember we were just chilling out watching it on the live stream, and we were thinking, "Wow, it was the first time we were able just to watch." Was it live streamed? I can't remember. I think it was live streamed. Yeah.
A fake live stream. What we did is we filmed everything, we edited the content, and then we did put it in a live, but everything was recorded a few days earlier. So technically, it was live on YouTube, but it wasn't really live. So
yeah. But when we watched it, it's the first time effectively we were watching, another event. And we were both like, oh man, this is freaking cool. We were loving it because we'd never been able to just watch an event unfold without having to do anything and just give it our full attention. So it was quite significant for us because we were like, oh man, this is we didn't really know, I used to be do music a little while ago. And a lot of thing that musicians say is that I would love to see myself play live, not in an arrogant way, but just to see how good is it? What are my live events like? You're never going to get to do it, but it's always a question a lot of musicians ask themselves, I'd love to see myself live. And this effectively felt like the first time we were able to just sit back and watch a chase tag event and sort of from a neutral point of view, judge how entertaining it was. And we were really happy because we found it really entertaining, So to me, that was quite a significant event as well.
Yeah, I think the one that really changed the thing in France was the next one that we're going to play. It was the event in Le Mans. And it's the one where the final was super, super exciting. It was sudden death with United and a local team that was called Broco, Broccolis. And yeah, the first chase was 7 seconds and something, and the end of the clip is just, I don't know, quite epic. And I think it's the first time that in France people started to take chase that seriously because Paco 59 was there, Kimeo was there, United was there. It kind of ignited the scene, in my opinion. And it was the first time we were doing something that big, and we were really trying hard to make content that you guys would love. We brought lights and 4 cameramen and graphics and stuff. We used the same graphics as you guys were using. But yeah, we really tried our best. And this moment was...
That final sudden death was just crazy.
Oh, it's not...
3 secondes 6. 3 secondes 6.
Because yeah, no, 3 seconds, 3.6 seconds, that's what you had to beat. And so everybody thought that it was done. I remember we were filming, we were like, okay, that's over, you cannot do better than this. And yeah, I don't know, this was exciting.
Après, c'est la Team United qui l'emporte, encore une fois. Et c'est Alix, du coup, la pièce rajoutée qui est envoyée. La pièce lyonnaise qui est envoyée. Donc bon, bah voilà, on va dire que je suis pour Alix alors. C'est parti qui se lance du coup pour cette finale. Et...
This one, like with the t-shirt.
It was so ridiculous. Because we were watching,
Yeah.
thinking, how did that happen? Like that, you couldn't have like. No disrespect to Carriel, he's obviously a really good athlete, but any decision would have been better than that. Anything like, I can't. It was just funny because it was just the chances of it happening are so slim. So we had the same expression. We were like, "What the hell?" Yeah, it was funny. That was a funny moment.
Should we stop making large jerseys? Yeah.
Yeah,
It was before the, like right now, a lot of athletes are putting the t-shirts in their pants and stuff, but
yeah,
back then nobody was thinking about it. And when that happened, I remember the United guys were happy about the event, but they were still like a bit disappointed. They were like, "Why would you wear such a large t-shirt?
yeah.
That's so dumb." But yeah.
I used to do the t-shirts, and Carriel, I remember his. I can't remember. I think it was like 3 times extra large. He always used to get a really, really big t-shirt. So I haven't noticed on the recent events, but I know in the early events he used to literally get like extra, extra, extra large or something. One thing we want to do in the future is potentially offer rash vests. So they're just tight. Offer the choice of either rash vests or jerseys. And that could be something that could mitigate a lot of that stuff. But that was a crazy moment as well. Just like, how the hell did that happen? That's why with sudden death, anything can happen. Like, it doesn't matter how ridiculous it is, anything can happen.
And so, I mean, can you bring the next clip maybe from La Sucrière? Because after that point, we always wanted to do better, and so we wanted to do a real live. And the next event we're gonna show is the first time we actually did a live event. I remember this one. It was like we were still learning. I don't know. There are so many mistakes that we made there that we're not gonna do anymore. Like the fact that we didn't have any music, so the mood was
Yeah,
just weird. Like it was so tense.
yeah.
Nobody was talking. Like, but it was cool. Like the way it looks, in my opinion, is still kind of good. And we had good teams with Blacklist, Kimeo, United, the West Coast family. Like a lot of teams that are still playing in France were already there. Some of the players changed, but yeah. Oh my gosh.
Coming back to what you're talking
Great
about with the
old days.
music. Coming back to what you're talking about with the music. One of the big evolutions in the sport as well is what, like, we talk about it a lot internally, but the chase cycle. What happens, when one chase starts and how it flows into the next chase. And to me, it's that to me is a really significant part of how the sport is portrayed, and like the music is a big part of that. The whole point of the chase cycle kind of thing is we wanted to create, and I don't mean this in a bad way, and we've been open about this right from the start. We wanted to create a very loud and chaotic environment during a match. And so, like, having them, as soon as the chase ends, the music comes on. There's all these different voices and replays and all this kind of stuff. And when you don't have music, you really appreciate. Yeah, the music makes a big difference. It makes everyone. I don't know. It just ramps up the energy and stuff like that. And I think the chase cycle, which the music is a big part of that, is a really big part of of how the sport is sort of portrayed and how it is, especially live. A lot of the chase cycle, you don't really see it in the videos or on TV or something like that. But when you go and see an event live, you are aware more of it. And I think it's just a kind of cool thing with the voices. Chase one, Morera gang evading, and all this kind of stuff.
I wasn't expecting this, at that point. Like, there's a lot of mistake we made where when you're facing the situation, you're like, okay, we're not going to do that ever again. But at that point in that event, we had something like 200 people or maybe a little bit more. And so coming to the event, I was expecting a lot of excitement. And I remember the room being just quiet. I don't know. I was like, wow, that's rough. But
the music makes people, if the music is loud, it makes people talk loud. And then, while the music's playing, so it just ramps up the energy. The energy just ramps up. And yeah, it's a big part of the energy of the room and stuff, and a big part of the show, I think.
And so, talking about the room and the energy. We're gonna skip a couple of years because we don't want to do the whole like evolution. What about words? Because that was the biggest event. How, I don't know, did you enjoy the event? Like, how did you feel about seeing that many people excited about Chase
Yeah,
Tag?
that
Like,
was yeah, that was the closest thing to, like I said earlier, that was the closest thing to the sport how we always thought the sport should be. That was the closest thing. That was the closest we've ever come to it. You know, it doesn't need to get that much bigger. I think there was 1,700 people there. You know, if the crowds may get bigger and we'll do more events and all this kind of stuff, but the nature of that event was kind of how, you know, the only
so,
step beyond that, we can play bigger venues and do stuff like that.
mm,
The only step beyond that is just to do more events like that. We should be doing 2 events a month like that. Do you know what I mean?
mm,
You know,
mm,
hopefully at some point that'll happen. Do you know what I mean? But
yeah,
yeah, that's the closest representation of how we always dreamt the sport should be, basically. So yeah, perfect. That event was just perfect.
yeah. Did you have any favorite moments? I don't know, highlights, any things you liked?
It's a weird thing. I find the events for me are very strange because I do the match point man. So I'm saying, you know, like doing the commentary for the room kind of thing between chases. And I find there's so much stuff going on, not only in the organization side of things, but in what I'm going to say next. I've also got an earpiece in that I'm listening to what's happening. Is this going to be delayed and all this kind of stuff?
Mm,
So I'm listening, I'm watching, I'm thinking what to say next. So I find a really weird thing happens to me at events, and I'm processing so much, like listening, watching, speaking, that memory. I have no memory. All of my
yeah,
RAM taken up by processing and my memory. So I honestly don't remember much from the events. I never do.
yeah.
So favorite
It's
moments, I don't.
I
You know,
feel the same
one
way
thing that's really cool.
when we were working on events, because you have to think about which graphics we want to play, which camera, which this, that, and we're always like talking about, oh, go to that camera, do this, do that, etc. When every time we finish an event, it's like I almost have no memories of what happened, except the
Mm-hmm.
like the highlights is if something crazy happened. But it's only when I'm gonna work on the editing that my brain is going to start
Yeah.
memorizing everything. And so all the TV shows I edited, these I can remember like very well
Mhm.
everything that happened. But the live events, at the end of the lives, usually I'm like, I don't even know what happened.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah.
but yeah.
But literally, I think one of my highlights that I do away from the actual event, I just find like I really enjoy when there's an event going on and you have it sounds cheesy and corny and stuff like that, but there's a group of people, all the chase tag athletes and the production crew and all this kind of stuff, and it's a weird thing that we only get together at these heightened moments. Do you know what I mean? You have a group of people spread all over the world, and once or twice a year we all come together, we're all stressed out, we're all tired, we're all nervous, and then we spend 5 days together, and then we go off again, and then
Mm,
we just don't see each other until the next event. And I
yeah.
find, as far as memories go, obviously I have some memories of like seeing the crowds and the action and all that kind of stuff and them being great, but literally, like, one of my favorite things is just hanging out with people and having a drink in the hotel afterwards and talking about the day, or
Mm,
walking from, remember in every walking from the hotel to the venue every morning and stuff, or in the evening, or for lunch or something like that, and you would see manpower, and you'd see a whole lot of people
yeah.
up in manpower, and
Yeah,
then you would
that
bump
was
into a few
hilarious.
athletes in the street, and it was just really cool just to walk through town, and suddenly there's all these people that you sort of see. And a weird thing happens as well is that, like, some athletes I know them more from watching them on chase tag. Than I've spent more time watching them do chase tag than I have done actually speaking to them. So I find at the
Mm,
events, when you first get there and you see a team come in, I'm like, oh fuck, there's Palco 59. Do you know what I mean? Or whoever
mm,
it is. Do you know what I mean? Oh shit,
yeah.
there's Carl Sagan. Oh fuck, there's so and so. And you feel like, I'm excited to see, oh shit, there's that guy. Do you know what I mean? And it
Hey,
sounds stupid, but it's really cool.
I'm not gonna lie, when I was, working on all the graphics, etc., I was seeing like all the people a lot and all
Yeah.
of their names, etc. And I remember after the US Championship, because that's the first event where we started building the square system, etc. When we did go to the Pan Am event, I knew everybody, like all of their names, etc., like the hometowns and stuff. And most of these people, I didn't know who I was. And so it was very
Yeah.
confusing because I felt like I
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
talking to somebody that I knew, and
Yeah. Yeah.
actually I didn't knew them like
Mm.
personally. So yeah, that was funny. Anyway, we have a
I
couple
have
of
exactly the same experience
extra.
though. I have exactly
Mm,
the same experience because after the events, we go through all the footage, we edit it down and
yeah.
stuff like that. I'm doing more editing, especially at this event, but and I find that at the events, it's weird when you actually see them and people in person that you've been editing and watching their face for hours and hours and hours, and suddenly you see them, and you're like, oh shit,
Yeah,
that's
that's
the
that's that
so and
guy.
so. Yeah.
We have a couple of videos that are more like bonus videos. One of them was called "Why Marrero Always Win," and something like "And they will always win." And we felt like it was quite fun to watch this. We
But it has to be said that up till this point, they had won all the events they'd
Chase
entered.
Tag. World Chase Tag takes elements of parkour, adds them to the childhood game of tag, and pretty much you have yourself a viral hit. So viral, in fact, this thing has had close to 280 million views.
It's
now
the
it's a
early
lot
Jimmy the
more.
Giant days.
One team has managed
Yeah,
to
yeah,
win
it
every
was
single
Jimmy the
World Chase
Giant.
Tag,
I think
and
they
that
had an
team is
interview
Marrero
with
Gang.
Greg
So I
in
sat down
their.
with captain and manager of the team, Greg Bull, to discuss why does Marrero Gang win every World Chase Tag?
Because they were only playing against British people, but that's my
All right,
opinion.
hello, hello.
But
No,
yeah.
Today I'm
well,
going to be talking to you
they would
about,
have played Ape
well,
Escape too,
first
would
off,
they
my
have
name's
played them?
Greg.
I can't remember.
Oh,
This is
probably.
Kieran.
Yeah, fair enough,
Hello.
fair
So
enough.
I currently manage and captain the World Chase
Uh,
Marrero Gang team. So
he was so
But
young.
get into
yeah,
tags. This is the start of it already.
yeah, up till
Yeah,
that
this.
point, like I don't think people had really taken it seriously. And then at
Mm,
Marrero
WCT4,
Gang.
I think a
He
lot
is
more
the new
teams
captain
started to
of
really
World Chase
prepare
Tag,
a lot
the
more.
World Chase Tag
mm.
team.
You know,
He was approached by Christian and Damien DeVoe.
and
So they were just
the level of
friends,
athlete
and they were kind
had
of
sort
like
of gone up and stuff like that. So
in their backyard.
that's how
Oh,
it kind of
that's the.
started. Those are the early days.
Yeah, in the garden.
Yeah.
But yeah, this video was quite fun to see.
Hmm.
We have a couple of other videos as well. That are a bit random, but that we found quite cool. Like we had some guys creating a map on Rocket League so that you can play chase
Okay.
tag with the Rocket League cars.
Okay.
And yeah, like watching this, we were like, because we had a lot of conversation with Loic, thinking at some point maybe chase tag should have a video game. And seeing this, we're like, oh, maybe we're not the only one thinking about this. Have you ever thought about creating a chase tag
Yeah.
video game or?
Yeah, we've thought about it, and we're speaking to a few people, and a lot of it comes down to, well, it all comes down to funding. We are speaking to a few people, and if one of the big things internally that we're doing at the moment is looking for funding. So then we can organize. Up till now, we've only had the ability and the funds to kind of do one event at a time.
Okay.
What we want to do is get enough money so we can book a whole series of events. So we can look for sponsorship, have a much longer lead-in time. What we found is a lot of companies, they allocate their budgets for sponsorship a year or two in advance. So, usually we have like an event book, like, oh, we have an opportunity. Then it's like, okay, cool. In 2 months, we've got an event. That's nowhere near enough time to look for sponsorship and stuff like that. So what we try and do at the moment is to look for enough funding so we can book like 1 or 2 seasons of events in advance. It's all booked. We can look for sponsorship and get a whole distribution plan and get all the athletes aware of all the dates and all this kind of stuff. And a big part of that would be developing a computer game.
Yeah. Okay,
100%.
Quad is saying that you should have some kind of chase tag manager game, like the football manager games. That could be cool, like running your own team and having to deal with all the drama and stuff. Like, I don't know.
It'd
And
probably
yeah,
be quite easy stats wise. It'd probably be quite easy to do because the stats are very clear cut. An athlete gets it. It's not like in football or something. People have different skills and it's harder to rate. Stuff. So chase tag would actually be quite an easy one to do.
yeah. And so anyway, the last clip we have is an interview of you from a very long time
Okay.
ago. I would like for you to listen to that, and then
no.
I'm gonna ask you a question.
Okay.
Um,
I don't. I hate interviews, so I
yeah.
hope. Let me see what this interview is. Oh, okay, this is with Lizzie, is it?
Okay, I'll give it a go.
Yeah.
World Chase Tag is a sports promotion company, and we want to put on chase tag events. We want to get the best athletes from a range of different disciplines like parkour and ninja warrior and rugby and American football. So a range of different elite athletes and get them to play chase tag. And we want to make it into like a global sport and hopefully have events all over the world, chase tag events all over the world, basically. That's what we want to try and do.
So yeah, now we're a couple of
chase
years
tag,
later.
My son was
Maybe you guys could remove the volume. Yeah, we're a couple of years later. And so how does the current Damien feel about what was said? Like, do you feel like you made it? Are you happy with the development of the sport? Like, what would
I'm
you
really,
answer to?
yeah, I'm really happy with the development of sport and direction it's gone in and stuff like that. It could have gone in so many different directions. And one of the things we realized, another thing, going back to that same sort of time, you have so many different opportunities coming, being presented. And one of the things that kept coming up was that, like, oh, do you want to create a Ninja Warrior? We want to create the new Ninja Warrior and we want it to be around tag. And one thing we were always adamant about is that, no, we want to create a sport. And I think that was a really, as far as the direction goes, you get pulled in all these different directions. And that was one of the things that I'm really happy. And so we developed we still use it now. Whenever we're unsure about a decision, we still have this mission statement. What do we want to do? We want to see the best athletes chase. And I think because of that mission statement, I think I'm very happy with where things have gone. We've still got a long way to go to really kind of be where we want to be, but it's definitely in the right direction. It could have gone in so many different directions. If we weren't very adamant about what we wanted to do, it could have gone in a million different directions. So I'm very happy we've been able to last this long, still kind of being true to what we always wanted to do. Do you know what I mean? We're not as far as I'd have liked, but I am as far as I am as far as I would like to in a way, but it still feels like it's we're not planing yet. There's a thing, I don't know if you've ever done wakeboarding or something like that. There's a thing when you're in the water. Me and Christian always use this analogy. There's a thing when you're in the water and you're trying to hold on before you get up. As soon as you get up, it's easy. And I find that we're still in the water, struggling to get up. Do you know what I mean? And that's what it feels. We're not quite planing yet. And so I think there's still
First of all, hi Marcus, I'm a little bit late. We played a video of you playing chase tag with Christian and Damien back in the days a couple of minutes ago. I don't know if we have it. And when it comes to what you were saying in chase tag being a sport rather than a TV show, I think this is like super important, and this is what makes chase tag interesting. Because you had a couple of other TV shows that tried to do the same thing, like Ultimate something, whatever. And I feel like that TV show was not something that at least I would watch or follow, because it's just like not interesting. Because it's just entertainment. And and you're not going to have people training. You're not going to have people training for that sport or spending hours trying to, I don't know, be better, because it's just, cheap entertainment.
And TV companies, they always, for some reason, TV producers and TV companies, they always want to see a good person against a bad person. That's what their whole thing is. Get a professional and get them against the average person. And I have no interest to watch that. I have no interest to work on a program like that. I want to see we want to see the best people chase. That's what I was saying earlier. The only other sport that I follow a lot is MMA. And I would never want to see a professional MMA person just kick the crap out of some amateur guy. And the same thing with chase tag. I don't want to see me go against freaking, whoever, Kai Baldwin. That would be so entertaining.
I agree. I think there are still a couple of things that we can do to make the sport more entertaining in a way that, you know, we could tell more narratives about the athletes or the teams or their personality. But I feel like everything should be around the sport rather than about like, oh, that guy has a sister that, you know, went to the hospital or something. Like, I think it should always be about that guy spent that much time training and he, I don't know, always finished second, and now that's the tournament where he can come back, and we can tell all of these stories a bit better. And MMA is a sport that does that quite well. Like, they're going to show you a lot of the personality of each athlete, and they're going to make it in a way that you want to see the fight. Even though you're not really into MMA. Other examples are the Formula One thing. Like the Formula One thing is amazing for that. I'm not really into Formula One, but when I saw that footage, I was like, damn, we need the same thing for chase tag or esport. I keep talking about esport, but yeah. Yeah, I know the team wants
coming
to...
Back to that thing, so far, like the whole narrative thing about the things, one of the problems we've had so far is that we haven't had the money to go live on a regular basis. So when we first got the investment, they were a TV company. And so we started to, it was produced like a TV program. We would get everyone together for 3 days because of like economies of scale. It's better just to get everyone together, film everything in one go, and then make, 10 episodes out of it or something like that. And that takes a while to edit and all this kind of stuff. And our whole production has been sort of based around that. So it means that by the time it actually comes out on TV and then later on social media, the storylines are relevant because everyone kind of knows who won and stuff like that. So I think a big transition for us when we get the investment is to be able to book 1 or 2 seasons of events in one go. So everyone knows, okay, this is the schedule for the next 2 years or 3 years or however long we can do it. And then you can start to tell storylines because it's all happening live. People watch it live. The footage comes out that day. The best matches are out the next day. The best chases are out the next day. It's a much more sudden, immediate thing. And at the moment, we've got this weird delay. It's very difficult. And I sympathize with chase tag fans because like we're only releasing the WCT6 footage now in a nicely edited format.
Yeah.
So I sympathize with you a lot. And to me, the biggest transition we will make in the future is when we're able to book 2 seasons in advance. So everyone knows, okay, cool, the final is on this day. All the athletes know, all the fans know. And they just know, okay, cool, I can't wait for the Pan Am Championship. I can't wait for the French Championship, the European Championship, and then that's all going to lead into the Worlds. That's when we can start to tell storylines. How it is now, it's difficult to tell a storyline.
To be honest, I still believe that there is a lot that we can do, even now with not that much money, to tell more stories. And that's also one of the reasons why we started that podcast, is that we wanted to make sure that fans or people that enjoy chase tag could watch chase tag on a not daily basis, but at least weekly basis, and know what is going on. And I feel like before each event, we could talk about the roster changes. We could talk about, I don't know, prediction on who's going to win, etc. After the event, right after the event, like 1 week, we could talk about who won, what happened, etc. And content like even what Quad Talk is doing, like interviewing athletes and talking about the season to come, is content, the type of content we should push more. And also with our team, we're trying to make lives as cheap as possible so that we can do more lives. I know they're not as good, but the things that we're doing with the academy, for instance, are the type of content we want to do more often. And so between big events that you're gonna do with the main company, we made sure that people have something to watch and to follow. Because in a year, I'm traveling a lot and I'm seeing a lot of people from the chase tag community. In a year, a lot of things are actually happening behind the curtains, if it makes any sense. And I think this is content that we could use and events that we could use to make chess tag grow, in my opinion. I know the production team really wants to play a clip. I don't know if I want to play it, but maybe we should. It's the first event a very long time ago from Kimeo where I actually played. It was terrible. It might be the only event where I competed. It was not even on a real quad. Anyway, but it's the moment where I started like being involved into chase tag much more, like taking pictures, videos, etc. And then from that point, every single time they needed someone on the camera or other things they were calling me. So I know they really want to play that clip. I'm a little bit ashamed. So, but yeah, if you have it, you can play it. Have fun. Yeah. Oh my gosh. But yeah, it was like a very long
I
time
watched it.
ago.
I had no idea. I'd never put the two together and said that was you. So I had no idea that
No,
was you.
that's Valentin Fiancet from Kimeo. You're gonna see me after. I'm tall,
Oh, okay. I see. All right,
very
okay. I
thin.
was trying to imagine you beardless, but you have to point out
No,
that
I
it's you.
think I had my
Okay.
beard. Like you're gonna see me. The only person that runs in a really odd way, that's me. Like here, that's me.
Ah, yeah.
Well,
Yeah. Okay.
so yeah,
That's good.
that's all you're gonna get. I'm not sure I
Ah,
wanna
okay.
show more
I'm
of this.
disappointed. Yeah.
But I mean, there are probably more shots. I don't know. Was it me? Oh, maybe that was me cleaning the floor. Yeah, that's
You?
me. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. But anyway, that's a very, very long time ago. That's enough. Now you played that.
But coming back
So
to what
yeah.
you were saying about coming back to what you're saying about regular events, if money was an object, if we won the lottery tomorrow or something like that, I
Mm,
think it'd be really good just to get a warehouse. If money
mm.
really wasn't an object, I think it'd be good to get a warehouse. I don't know, start off with in Europe because most of us are here.
The
But
crew, yeah.
yeah, yeah. If money wasn't an object at all, and just have monthly events, just have like random
Mm,
monthly events, like Fight Club events, and just I think that alone, just putting a schedule to say in 2 months' time, this is the lineup, like 6 teams. I mean, 4 teams doing a round robin, 6 matches, last a couple hours, and just have that on a monthly basis. So all the teams. Sometimes you have like women's events. Sometimes you
mm,
have like top tier teams. Sometimes you have new teams just emerging, and just have monthly events. And I think
mm.
that alone would make a huge difference. So people could just tune in once a month or twice a month or whatever, and just enjoy chase tag. And at the moment it's very difficult because the events are very sporadic and stuff like that. But so it all
Yeah.
comes down to just sort of finance, and as soon as that comes
So,
through, regular events will make a huge
so
difference.
completely different subject, but Quad Talk is asking what is worst, being filmed by Mo or that? I don't know, probably being filmed by Mo, I would say, but I don't know what's worse between taking a shoe in the head and being filmed by
Yeah.
Mo. I have no clue. Maybe we should vote about this. But yeah, that was anyway, whole story. But yeah, I would love to see more events, even if it's like smaller events, to make sure that the athletes have you know competition on a regular basis. And that's also why we're once again doing the 1v1 format that we want to start, is that we want to make sure that people have a reason to train all year long and they can have fun, and we can bring new players to like the sport as well. I think this is really important because some of the athletes, they're going to play for one or two events and then they're going to move on to something else, and so we need to make sure we always have new players and new stories to tell. But I,
But
I
what's
think
interesting, just another thing to add to that, kind of in a slightly different vein, but what's interesting that a lot of people might not know is just like there is a lot of stuff happening behind the scenes, and like in Asia, we don't really talk about it too much, but there are a lot of things happening with kids chase tag in China.
mm,
They're having a lot of regular competitions. There's also in Japan. They just had a earlier this month,
uh,
like 5 days ago, they had a kids event out there, which is going to be,
maybe we
and now some
can
of them
play some footage
to
of this.
yeah.
Um, yeah,
Um,
carrying on.
and there could be a chance there could be a 12-meter quad in Japan. Maybe it's very early days yet, but that'll happen at some point. There's a new quad going up in India that's been made but hasn't been like I don't think anyone's trained on it yet. So there's going to be a whole lot of new communities coming up,
Yeah.
and so there's a lot of even though we don't have regular events and stuff like that, and I sympathize with being a chase tag fan in that you know but it's very difficult to sort of finance things and stuff like that. But hopefully we'll get there one day. But a lot of things are happening behind the scene, and it is one of those things. I feel that that like the analogy is always like bamboo. They always use this analogy. Bamboo grows under the ground, and then spends ages. You think, what the hell? Nothing is happening. Then suddenly one shoot comes out, and it's 20 feet in 2 days. I've seen it happen before. It's pretty spectacular. And I'm hoping chase tag will be the same thing. A lot of stuff is happening under the surface, continuously happening under the surface, and a lot more quads are coming up. A lot of interested people, and a lot of the conversations just take a long time to come to fruition. But a lot of things are happening, and I think it'll just be a question of. I always knew when we started off there'd be a lot of different momentums and stuff like that, and when we first, I felt that before we ever released any videos, I was really confident that if someone put out videos of people doing chase tag with good athletes, that it would go viral. And then suddenly everyone would be like, oh shit, that's the thing, that's cool, and it'll go viral. And I think we've passed that stage now. People have seen what it is, and we still get a lot of viral videos on TikTok, especially. For some reason, TikTok is the platform where we get the vast majority of our views.
Because short
people
content,
surprised at seeing it and stuff. But I think we're in a different phase now. We're in a different phase where people have known about it, and I think what we need to do is create now. The excitement phase is over. Now it's just the slow grind of getting consistent events, building up teams, building up communities, building up kids leagues, and all this kind of stuff. So I think we've moved into a different phase where it's now just a slow plod. And maybe at some point it'll explode again into a new excitement phase on a higher level. But I think there's all these different phases we're going through. And I think we're just in a kind of slow grinding phase of just, take each event as it comes, just move forward. And a lot of things are happening behind the scenes, and we're strengthening it in a lot of ways. So people, chase tag fans, or to a certain extent athletes, I'm sure are frustrated sometimes that things aren't moving fast enough, or they don't know what's happening and stuff like that. A lot of stuff is happening, but a lot of time it just takes a lot of time to come to fruition.
Yeah. If you guys have any questions, by the way, for Damien, feel free to ask them in the chat. And yeah, I'm excited to see that new season. I feel like also having more regular nationals that might happen in the gyms, even if it's lower budget event, I think it can be a great thing for chase tag, because then we're going to be able to have more nationals, like, I don't know, maybe in Netherlands, where now they have like 2 quads, maybe another one in France, maybe one in the UK, even though I don't know if we have enough teams for that. But I feel like this could be a good way to build some kind of hype and expectations and story for the main events, so that when words happen, people are watching faces that they know, players that they've seen the whole year. So yeah. Oh, we have one of the Forest Tag members. Hello. I don't know.
You see, Forest Tag, I love to see Forest Tag is such a cool story. I remember seeing their videos of them chase in the garden, and with all their sticks and stuff like that, and it was just so cool. I remember just thinking, wow, that's so freaking cool. And now they're getting really good. I saw a clip like yesterday, I think it was, they posted something, and they were doing a dive from like the tray through the lazy boy. I've never seen anyone do that move before. And I just thought, so it's really interesting to now see like young kids now actually, they're going to be a threat in a very short period of time. Same thing with Fakao. I remember when they first came around, they were helping the Chinese team, and they were just like young athletes just starting out, and now seeing them train, they're like, oh shit, they could actually be a serious threat. Same thing with
I'm not gonna lie, Fakao and other teams like Rooftop Kings, etc., there are some of the players that I really want to see this season, because I feel like there's some of the players that take the game very seriously and that are working hard on a regular basis. So I cannot wait to see them this year. I think they have the right mindset to do good. So I'm excited. Did you watch the Youth League event?
Me? Yeah, it was great. It was amazing. Yeah, it was brilliant.
I think everybody was kind of surprised by the level of the athletes, because they were all young and we didn't know what to expect. So,
but they would have beaten, I think they could have even beaten WCT4 teams. They probably could have been WCT4 world champions. You know what I mean? So it's really crazy to see, to see young teams come through, and you just think, what the hell? It's really incredible. And soon that'll be happening, hopefully in Japan and China and India and stuff like that, because doing a lot of stuff with young
Oh, yeah,
athletes.
if we have some footage of the Japanese event, like the Youth League event, that would be nice just to see it a little bit. And Roman from Forest Tag is saying Urban Cup Phoenix was hot, but I think he's a little bit biased. But yeah, they did good. Like they did good.
Yeah.
All of them did good. I was
Yeah, it's
quite
amazing.
impressed by
Amazing.
yeah.
It was like a proper
do we
event.
have
I didn't see that being any different to the normal. That seemed like an adult pro event. The quality was crazy.
yeah.
Yeah.
Do we have any footage from the Japanese event that just happened? I don't know if they're looking for it. Maybe we don't. Okay, so they're gonna play some clip from the Japanese event in a couple of seconds. Did you watch the event or not at all?
Yeah, I went to the one they had last year. I was there for that one.
Oh, yeah,
And,
you were
and
there. I remember.
yeah, and they have some really good Japanese athletes. I don't think they have enough chase to obviously, they haven't got a permanent quad there. So they're not going
Yeah.
to have, but there's some really good athletes. So if they can get a permanent quad, or if, especially a 12-meter quad, I think that would totally change the game. There's a lot of really, really good athletes, but I think traditionally they're really into more, there's obviously a lot of parkour athletes, but there's a lot of free runners as well. I think they're very into tricking. And also, yeah, I think there's a lot of really good athletes. So I think if they had a permanent quad, I think they would be a very, very strong team. They could get a
But
really strong team.
they're a lot younger than our league, I think.
Yeah, these ones were a lot younger, yes. But they also have
Okay.
some older athletes that they had an event maybe a few months ago in Japan on the 8-meter quad, and it was for adults, like pro athletes, And one of the guys in the video you showed
Oh,
earlier,
Kyle Shapiro.
yeah. Hey, heard you.
It's almost like he's reacting to
Yeah.
to what
So this
we're
is an
saying.
8-meter quad. This is a smaller 8-meter quad, but the kids are tiny, young kids. But a lot of them have a parkour background. The only thing is that we found is that the EQ was too high. So for these particular kids, I mean, these kids are probably like 8 or 9 or something like that. There's two age categories. I think it was 7 to 9 and then 10 to 13 or something like that. And so the EQ was too high, and so they were getting a really high evasion ratio. It was too high.
Yeah.
It was too high. There was too much.
They're too good. That's all.
Yeah, but they're very good. They're
Or too bad as chasers. I don't know. Quad Talk is saying that they reacted to the event with Johan. So did you guys watch the whole event, like the 4 hours of? Oh my gosh, that's a lot of chases.
Oh yeah, I did see that. Yeah, I haven't watched it yet, but they did a reaction to this.
Yeah, I only watched a couple of minutes just to see how it looks like.
But they're good. There's some
I
really
wasn't
good athletes.
planning on watching the whole event.
Yeah, but if they carry on training, and doing this on a regular basis, it'll be crazy to watch them in 10, 15 years time.
Yeah. Yeah, even in a couple of years, like even 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
Are you planning any changes on the 8-meter quad? Are you guys working? Because I think that some changes were coming.
Yeah, we've come up with quite a good idea of basically using the foundation of the 12-meter quad for the 8-meter quad. And when you chase it, we've got it set up at Christian's back garden at the moment in the driveway, and we've sort of used, and it feels when you're chasing on, evading on it, the obstacles are in the same place, and it kind of feels like you're chasing on the 12-meter quad, but it's condensed down. So it's actually quite interesting. I'm looking forward to see how that develops.
So then the kids are going to be able to learn the technique on the 8-meter quads and use it on the 12-meter quads.
It'll translate a lot easier to the 12-meter,
So that's nice. Oh, the production team is saying we shouldn't talk about it. Okay. Okay. I didn't mean to. I don't know. But yeah.
I got confused. I thought you were talking about something else. Ignore what I said. Ignore it.
No. They were just saying so maybe we shouldn't talk about the 8-meter quad. I don't know.
Okay.
But anyway, so if you guys don't have any more questions, maybe we can end here for today. Is there anything else you would like to say to, I don't know, the Chase Tag fans or the people that are here in the chat?
Thank you for supporting us. I know it must be frustrating being Chase Tag Fag, not knowing when the next events are and the delay of all the events and footage coming out and stuff like that. But we're working on that to make it, we want to be a live sport and we want to have regular live events. None of this 8 months waiting for the footage to come out. We want to have regular events every, preferably like 2-3 a month. That's what we're aiming for. But it'll take a time to get there, And so thank you very much for supporting us throughout the years. And we very, very much appreciate your support. Literally, we wouldn't be having this conversation if you didn't support us. So very, very grateful for that. And hopefully in a sometime in the near future, we'll be having every events every week or month.
So we have a couple of more questions. Quad Todd did ask about the cards. A lot of people asked us about the cards. When are they coming, if you have any news? And the Danish Prince is asking if you ever considered looking for crowdfunding or things like that, so that fans could help and fund the sport.
Yeah, yes, we are. And we may be doing something like that in the future. So yes, we are thinking about crowdfunding. It's a bit complicated because we already have investors. So there's a few things we're trying to work out. But yeah, that's definitely something we are thinking about.
As the production team said, you can follow, you can commentate, you can support the channel as well. It can help us grow the sport in some way.
That's the best support. Watch the videos, leave comments, leave likes, all that kind of stuff. That's the biggest thing. That's the biggest support, possible.
So you were going to say something and I interrupted you.
Yeah, what I was going to say was, launching a sport is a very, it's a big enterprise and it requires a lot of finance. Do you know what I mean? And I think it's, people don't realize how expensive the events are and stuff like that. So it's a tricky, it's a long, difficult process. We always knew it was going to be a long, difficult process, but it's moving in the right direction. We're having some really interesting conversations. And like I said, the last major event we did was the closest thing we have come to really fulfilling what we think the sport could be. And that's only going to get better. The action is only going to get better. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if finance allows, the production get better. But one thing is guaranteed is that with all these young kids and young teams coming up, the action is going to get better and better and better. And so in 10 years' time, I just think it's going to be a crazy, crazy situation. Yeah.
But that's also, first of all, thank you, Quad Talk. We also appreciate you, and we're trying to provide more content. But I think this is also something that we could show, because it happens a lot for us when we're running live events. Sometimes people don't understand how much, people you need, how much gear you need, and cameras and cables and knowledge and time, and it's so much work and money. And I feel like it could also be interesting maybe to show more of the process of I don't know, how we create events, how we run events, what does an event implies, because sometimes people don't.
I look at football like soccer. I call it football. I hate calling it soccer, but football.
It's football. It's football. We're in Europe here.
Yeah. But I just think they've gotten so lucky. All they do is blow a whistle, start a timer for 45 minutes, and then that's it. They just watch the whole time. We've got all these different teams in half an hour. So much shit happens in a chase tag event. In football, they're just kicking it. Oh, and Bob's passed to Pete. Pete's passed to Dave, or he's passed it back to goalie. I mean, shit, that's so easy.
And you have one angle just following the action very slowly with very expensive cameras.
Expensive. But there's no they don't cut. They show a replay. If the ball goes out, they show a replay, and it's just bloody hell. And they've got one timer, one score thing. We've got graphics coming up, headshots, this timer, that, buzzers, music. Man, bloody hell.
And we're working on we're working on a lot of new features that we can't tell you about it right now, but we're trying to bring new things to make the experience better, watching chase tag better.
But that's often what's the saying again? the obstacle is the way, or something like that. And our obstacle is that, or what makes it difficult is that chase tag is very complicated. But that's also the that's the advantage of chase tag, or the strength of chase tag, is that it's so intense. Do you know what I mean? I don't know if it comes across when you watch videos. I'm so used to watching them that I don't know. It's difficult to take a neutral point of view. But the events are very, very intense, because it's just like one chase, and then you see a replay on the screen, and then another chase, and it's very, very intense. And so the obstacle is the way. It's difficult, but that's actually the what's the word? That's why it's exciting, is because there's so much crap going on. Do you know what I mean?
Okay, one question from me. I really believe that matches should be longer. That's why we keep talking about the 32 chases format with like a break in the middle. And in the way I see it, it would be like, I don't know, 8 people, only 4 can play. And then after the halfway, you can change your players so that it brings a dimension of strategy of who you're going to play, who's performing, etc. Do you think on the main events we could see in the future some changes like that, like the 32 chases format, or you're going to stick to the 16 chases forever?
Maybe, but the thing is, for me, I find like with sport or whatever it is, each thing has its unique flavor, and it'd be nice to see more strategy and stuff like that. But I also like the fact that there's like, what's the most exciting sport at the Olympics? What's the one that everyone sits down and watches? There's only one, to me, there's only one thing everyone talks about. It's the 100 meters, the 100-meter sprint.
Yeah.
That lasts 10 seconds. And so to me, what's so compelling about that is that so much rests on you cannot make a mistake. It's such paper-thin margins. And to me, the sport, as it stands now, is 16 chases. The margins are so slim. There's no room for error. I love MMA, and one of the things that's so good about it is that the stakes are so high. You can't mess up. If you mess up, then you're going to be unconscious. The stakes are so high.
Yeah.
And if you've got room, allowing 32 chases introduces a margin of error. I love the fact that there's no margin of error. The teams have to come prepared.
But if you take the MMA format, like, so we made a little bit of math watching the average length of a match for words, and so pretty much like most of the matches, when we talk about chasing time, it's around like 250 to 3 minutes and 10 seconds. And if you talk about MMA, they have like the main events usually have rounds of 5 minutes, and you can have like 3 rounds or something like this. So it's still a lot longer than an average chase tag match. And for me, I feel like when you reach final, and it's been, or even semi-final, quarterfinals of words, and you train for a whole year, and then one thing can happen, chase one, for whatever reason, you sleep, you get out of the quad, you miss something, like anything can happen, and then suddenly maybe your whole year is done. And I feel like it's a bit frustrating. Yeah, for the 100
final.
No, sure.
But that's why you see, it's all yin and yang. It's all yin and yang. You cannot have excitement if there's not jeopardy. And if there's margin for error, you're reducing jeopardy. So
but the chase tag is still a team game, and so maybe one member is going to fail for whatever reason, and it's like the whole team is going to regret like what happened. And I feel like 32 chases would bring a game that is a little bit more fair first, and also that can build more excitement in a way that if you look at soccer,
why is it not fair? Both teams are in the same situation. There's nothing unfair about it.
No, but
don't
like
mess up.
in 16 chases, like one thing can happen and it's done, pretty much, because nowadays teams know how to tag. So I feel like, I don't know, I feel like it's rough. If you we had chases even in Pan Ams. If you take this 13 Pan Ams, for instance, one of the player, I think it was Mike or something, got injured. I think it was chase 3, and then boom, it's the end of the match. And I'm like, that's rough, that's 30, because I know they worked, and now I'm like, But anyway,
To me,
that was
how I look at it now is that that's the nature of the sport, unless I'm proven otherwise. And I would love to see more 32 chase matches, but I think we've got to be very careful of diluting the excitement. What's wrong with it now? There's nothing actually wrong with it. Everyone
no,
likes
no,
it.
no. Yeah.
Don't fix something that's not broken.
Yeah,
It's
sure.
like, and I think there's a very fine balance between, like, the 100 meters. Let's say you did the 100 meters and it was an amalgamation of 3 chases. You mean 3 races, and the person with the least amount of time on all 3 races wins. That would be, you'd think, well, no, that's bullshit. I want to see one race and there's no margin for error.
But
If you mess up that
I
race, then you
think
don't win.
I think the difference with the 100 meters, but anyway, maybe we shouldn't spend too much time on this, but I feel like
Yeah, no,
you're
but it's an
not
interesting
having
point.
2 people that are opposing each other. It's like one performance and you're doing your own thing. I feel like here it's a bit different because you have player kind of facing each other, which in my opinion changes the way you should see at things. And also, if you look at soccer, personally, what I like with soccer is that between like the whole duration of the match, which is 90 minutes, you're gonna build some kind of tension. And so when it's the end of the match, the level of tension is like so high. While in chase tag, I feel like I do love that sport and I do love the format. I'm not trying to say, hey, it changes everything.
Yeah.
But in chase tag, I feel like sometimes you're gonna reach the final and you start to get into it and then the match is done. And you're like,
Okay,
oh,
now
wow.
picture this. Now picture this, right? Imagine going into a final knowing that the winning team is going to win like $1 million and the losing team is not going to win anything, or they're going to win 10 grand. Imagine the tension going into that. Every moment that the buzzer has gone off, you're going to be shitting yourself if you back a certain team. To me, that's what
And,
sport is all about. I'm not thinking about it
and
from,
I,
and I know this is a bad thing to say from an organization point of view. Everyone, you were saying it's not fair because it's too short. Everyone has 16 chases. It's just as fair as anything else.
yeah, but
I want to
I don't
create.
think I don't think the word
No, but
fair was the right one. I'm just
okay,
saying that.
but to me, I'm thinking about it from the point of view of from the audience point of view. I think if you had £1 million on the line, I think the tension, if you knew there was only 16 chases and any error is going to be like, if it ramps up to that, you've been waiting this whole time and your team is there, it's the first time they won, and you know that there's so much riding on that. Each chase, you're going to be shitting yourself. But if there's another 16 chases, then it's like, oh, it's not, they can come back. If there's only 16 chases, then, so to me,
Well,
I like that tension. It's the same thing
I
with
think
MMA.
two things. If you had $1 million on the line or whatever, I don't think 32 chases would change anything. You would still have the same level of tension. And the other thing is that maybe it's just me, but like when I watch an event, I like to know which team is the best. And I feel like on 16 chases nowadays, like players are gonna play what, 3 chases max? Like you don't have enough
But
time to grasp it. And so
the
if you
thing is,
take words, for example, I think if it was a 32 chases, the result could have been completely different. And if we played the matches like 10 times, 20 times, the result could completely change because there was not like a clear cut. Like no team was, I don't know, like so far ahead that we're like
that's the
Apex
nature
in
of sport.
WCT5. Apex in WCT5, you're like, okay, they were the best, like no doubt about it. Words here, I was like, I don't know. And so
But
all
that's
the
the nature of
matches
sport.
felt, yeah, sure,
That's the nature of sport. And the thing is, if you compare, I started off watching boxing when I was young. I got into watching boxing, and so many times in boxing, you watch the first couple of rounds and you know, okay, I know who's going to win. You can just tell the person's outboxing him. That strategy isn't going to work. Then you have to watch 45 minutes, another 10 rounds, and you just know he's just going to outpoint him. Blah blah blah. The good thing about MMA is that MMA, me and Christian always say it's like rock paper scissors. There's skills that someone can be, the fight can be on the ground, on the standing up, and you think, okay, one person is doing better, and they're dominating. They take it to the ground, then suddenly it's a whole different fight.
Yeah.
And so you don't know who's going to win. For someone to remain undefeated in boxing, that's quite common. Not that common, but you can have a pretty predictable record. In MMA, it's much more unpredictable because you got leg kicks, you got this and that, and that's what makes it exciting. So I know for a fact that a lot of fights that I watch in the UFC, if you were to rerun it again, 10 minutes later, it would be a totally different result.
Yeah.
And if you were to play it 10 times, it'd be a totally different result each time. And that's what I love about the sport. You were saying, I want to find out who's the best. For those 16 chases, the team that won was the best. There's no denying that. And if they were to rerun it again, it could be totally different. And that's what I love about sport, the unpredictability of it. If you always know...
I agree.
I love that. I love that about sport. You want it to be unpredictable. To me, who was the best? And everyone knows the rules. It's 16 chases. If you lose, you won't get those 16 chases.
Let's take your MMA situation. For me, chase tag, I feel like it's people are going to start jabbing to each other, and as soon as they start going on the ground, someone is going to be like, "Hey, end of the match," and you're like, "Wait, now things were changing." And we were moving to something else, and it's already done. And so that's my feeling with chase tag is like the first couple of chases, people are kind of taking their marks, and then the game is finished, and I'm like, damn it. But anyway, I feel like we're just
I would love to see more 32
going into
matches.
circles.
I would love to see more 32 chase matches. I would love to see more, but until I'm proven otherwise, keep it as it is.
Fair enough.
Otherwise, keep.
If you guys have any more questions, let us know. If you don't, I think we're gonna stop for today. Thank you for your time. Thank you for coming here, watching all of that footage. You're always welcome to come back whenever you want.
That was a great time. I could talk about that conversation all day, to tell you the truth. Like about because it's something that me and Christian have talked about a lot. And all these different things. So yeah, I'm happy to come and talk.
To be honest, I would love to do that. I just don't want to spend like 4 hours on a stream right now, but we should do that. And there are other questions like this where I'm interested to see your view on, I don't know, some rules. Maybe we could talk about how the rules evolved from one event to the other one, and why you took some decisions, because I feel like each decision was actually quite interesting. And there are so many things that we could say about that, or the format, or everything. So, but maybe we're going to stop for today. Thank you again.
Okay, cool.
Thank you. See you next week, guys. We should have an interesting guest, hopefully. That should come from the other side of the ocean, but I can't tell you much about it right now. And every Thursday, you know where to find us. On Wednesday, we're doing reruns of the previous week. And WCTalks said I would love to see Damien again. So, let's do another episode in the future.
Yes.
Let's talk about rules. Let's talk about all of that. And thank you again for your time.
Okay, cool. Rules is a difficult subject. That's probably not going to be as fun and probably more argumentative, but let's do it.
But that's cool, because I feel like that's also the kind of content that you barely see in chase tag, because when we're filming the TV shows or competitions, we don't really have time to have these conversations about, should we change the format? Yes, no, whatever. I don't mind about the answer. I just feel like it's interesting to have these conversations because they're rare, and we don't really, bring people around the table and do that. But anyway, thank you guys. I said bye for the 10 times already, and see you next week, Thursday, same time, same place. And thank you for the support.
Cheers. Bye.